Kerrie from KezziieKreates and welcome back. Today's actually going to be a tutorial on how to make these granny stitch flowers in multicoloured and plain versions. So for this tutorial you're going to need a crochet hook that corresponds to the size of your yarn. So I'm going with my 4mm furls hook, a pair of scissors, a stitch marker, a tapestry needle. This will only be used for weaving in the ends, and yarn of choice. So you can use any yarn for this in any colour that you want. I am using King Cole Cotton Soft Crystal DK in shade Blush. First of all, you're going to make a slip knot in your yarn, put that over your hook, pull it tight, and then you're going to chain 6 to start off with. So I'm just going to yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 6 times. 3, 4, 5, 6. So you've got 6 changes in total. You can count the little V's here. So you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 at the top. And then you're going to slip stitch that into your first chain space that you made. So you just insert your hook into the loop at the front, yarn over, pull it through that first loop and your last hoop. So you've got a ring here. Just going to pull this out so you can see you've got a ring in the middle. So from here you're going to make a stacked single crochet to start your first round. So you're going to insert your hook into that hoop that you just created all the way through, ignoring your yarn tail, and you're going to yarn over, pull up a loop. So you've got 2 loops on your hooks. This is your original one and the one that you just made, and then you're going to yarn over and make your first single crochet. And then what we're going to do to make it a stacked single is go into this pink loop on the left hand side here. So you're just going to insert your hook under that front loop, ignoring that first, ignore this one, and go in behind this pink one. So you're going to go in there, yarn over, pull through the pink one. So you've got 2 on your loop, yarn over, pull through the last 2. So then you've got your first stacked single crochet. And then what I recommend you do now is grab your stitch marker and mark that the top of that stacked single crochet, like that. So next you're going to create, that counts as your first double crochet, and that will count as a double crochet throughout the entirety of this pattern. So the next we're going to create 2 more double crochets in this loop. You're going to yarn over, insert your hook into the loop, yarn over, pull up a loop. So you've got 3 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through the first 2, yarn over again, pull through the last 2. Now we're just going to create 1 more of those. So then what we've got here is your stacked single crochet to start off with, your double crochet and a double crochet. So this class is just your first cluster. We're going to need 6 of these in total. So now we're going to chain 2, and then we're going to create 3 double crochets in that loop again. So yarn over, insert your hook, yarn over, pull through a loop, yarn over, pull through 2. We'll just do 2 more of those. And there we have our second cluster. So we've got our original cluster, stack single plus 2, chain 2 space, it should be your corner, and then we've got another cluster here. So what I'm going to do now is do another 4 more of these. So I'm going to have 6 clusters in total and 6 corners in total. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 clusters. It does get a bit tight towards the end. Don't worry about this hole in the middle, this is going to close at the end. And then for our last corner, we're just going to chain 2 as we have been doing. And then we're going to slip stitch into our first stacked single crochet where we put our stitch marker. So I'm just going to go ahead and take that off. So what I'm going to do is put it through those top 2, yarn over, pull up a loop, and then this orange loop will go through this purple loop. This can get a little bit tricky, especially if you've got a split yarn like this one. So sometimes I just pick up this one that's already on my hook and just manually do it to make it easier. And there we've got our first round. So now I just pulled my tail tight. This will close more at the end. So now what I'm going to do is turn my work over, and your yarn's going to be on the wrong side. So what you want to do is thread your yarn around the back of your crochet hook so it goes underneath, and then it's at the back. And then what we're going to do here, we've got our chain 2 space from the previous row. We're going to make another one of those stacked single crochets. So as before, we're going to insert our hook. This time we're going to go into this chain 2 space. Insert the hook, yarn over. So you've got 2 loops on your hook, yarn over and make your first single crochet. And then again, we're going to want to go into this loop on the left hand side. So we're going to put our hook in there. You sometimes might need to persuade it a little bit with another finger. Then we're going to yarn over, pull through that one. So we've still got 2 on our loop, and then we're going to complete the last single crochet on top there. Then I'm going to go ahead and put another 2 double crochets into this space. Like that. So now we've got that's our yarn tail, our first cluster. So we've got our single crochet stack and 2 double crochets. What I'm going to do again, take my hook out a second, grab my stitch marker and just, sorry, my hook rolling around, mark that first stack single crochet. So it's this pink one here. So that purple one is the top of our double crochet, and then I've got another pink one which is the top of this double crochet. So I want to mark this first pink one as our stacked single crochet, because that's the stitch that will be joining our row 2 at the end. So I'm just going to put my yarn back on my hook, pull that tight, then I'm going to chain 2, and then I'm going to make 3 double crochets. It's still in this corner space here. So yarning over, inserting, yarning over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. Then I'm just going to do that another 2 times. So now we've got our first cluster, a chain 2 space, which is at one of our corners, and then we've got 3 more double crochets. And we're going to repeat this in every single chain 2 space that we've got. So we're going to be doing 3 double crochets followed by chain 2 and then 3 double crochets. So we're going to do that in every single chain 2 space that we have all the way around. So I'm going to go and do that, and I'll meet you back once we're finishing this corner here. So now at the end of the round, where we're going to be joining to our stacked single crochet where we put the stitch marker on at the beginning. So what I'm going to do here to finish this final cluster off, remove my stitch marker, and then I'm going to slip stitch, making sure you grab both loops there, both my pink ones, yarning over, pulling through that first one and that second one as well. Just giving myself a little bit, my yarn splitter, giving myself a little bit more extra tail. So you don't want it to be too tight when we're joining. So what we will now have is 3 clusters, a cluster of 3, sorry, a chain 2 space, a cluster of 3, a chain, there's no chain here but it does create a space, and then we've got these in each corner, so cluster of 3, chain 2, cluster of 3, then we've got a space between the 3 double crochet banks all the way around. So now this, we're moving on to our final round. So we can see this is the back, this is our original starting yarn tail. So what we're going to do is turn our work. Our yarn will be on the front, but as before we want to move this back behind our crochet hook. Make sure this loop does not get too tight on your hook. You want to have plenty of room on your hook to do this your single crochet. So as we can see here, we're starting in the space between the clusters rather than in a corner, which is absolutely fine. So we want to do our stack single crochet now. So we're going to go into this hole, we're going to yarn over and pull up a loop, make sure it's nice and loose, yarn over, pull through 2. We want to skip this orange loop here and we want to go into this purple loop at the back, our crochet hook, yarning over, pulling through that purple loop. So we've got 2 loops on our hook, yarning over, pull through 2 to complete our stack single crochet. And then what we're going to do now is create another 2 double crochets in this space as we have been. There we go. I'm just going to pull this out slightly so we can attach our stitch marker. Just rolling off again. Grabbing our stitch marker. So we've got our purple loop, our orange loop, and then we've got another purple loop there, which is our stack single crochet, which I'll be attaching my stitch marker to. Adding this back onto our hook, we're then going to get to a corner space. So in our corners we're going to do exactly the same as we did in the previous round. So we're just going to double crochet 3 times first of all. 1, 2, and 3. Then we're going to chain 2, and then we're going to do another 3 double crochets in the same space. 1, 3. So we've got our corner, 3, 3. And then what we're going to do in every space in the middle, we're going to chain 3 double crochets in here. And then in every single corner, we're going to do 3 double crochets, chain 2, 3 double crochets, all the way around until we get back to here. So I'll catch up with you back then. So once you're back here, so I've just finished my last cluster on my 3 double crochet. We want to slip stitch it back to where my stitch marker is. In this case, it's the 2 purple V's at the top. So we'll just unclip this and just slip stitch this by placing my hook under those 2 V's. Okay, so now we have the bottom section of the flower completed. You can see it's starting to wave up, which is kind of what we want, so it like looks more like petals. So we've got 2 options, or you've got 2 options here. You can either cut your yarn off here and reconnect it later on, or you can slip stitch down to where we need to be doing the next stitches. So I will be showing you how to do the slip stitching and where I've slip stitched it down into each of these stitches. But if you do want to go ahead and fasten off here, please do so. You can also change colour here if you want to change yarn. I'm going to be using all the same colour yarn for this example, but if you want to change yarn, where you'd need to connect it is in this second row of clusters. So you've got outside clusters where my hook is. Let me just take this out a second. Your outside clusters, then you've got your second row clusters, and then you've got your middle row of clusters. So where you'd want to be joining it if you are changing colour is into this stitch here, or any of these middle stitches along here. So I would aim for this one here. This is where I'll be slip stitching to in this example, and you just reconnect it there onto that orange part there. So what I will be doing now is keeping my yarn attached. This will also save weaving in ends at the end. I'm going to slip stitch down into this orange cluster here. So how I will do that, so you want the front, so you've got your back, your tail, you want to stay on the front side, so don't turn your work. All of the neck rounds will be completed on the front, the right side. So yeah, don't be turning your work now. So first of all, we want to make sure this is fairly loose. I've pulled up quite a lot of extra yarn here, so we want to be slip stitching down. So my first slip stitch is going to go into this bar here. So I'd put my yarn, my hook under there, pull it a little bit tighter, not too tight, but you still want to be able to move your hook around. And then I'll just slip stitch that one. So the next one, put it a little bit looser. The next one will be this purple bar. So then I've gone through 2 of the legs to start off with of those double crochets. So the next one will be this purple one. So again, I'm just inserting my hook under this bar, and then we're just slip stitching down to that one. Now the next stitch that I want to slip stitch into will be this bar here. This bar here will be the next one. So we'll just go into this one. Slip stitched. And then the third one of that last top middle cluster, so it'll be this purple one here. So insert my hook again. Don't make these too tight, make sure these are fairly loose slip stitches, because if not it will ruffle too much. Just pull through that and that one. So now we're at the bottom of this cluster, and then the last slip stitch we're going to do is into the top bar of the next row down. So in this instance it'll be that purpley blue one there. So again we'll be slip stitching here, yarning over and just pull it through. And then the next stitch we're going to work into will be where you would have joined your yarn if you were disconnecting it. So the first bar I'm going to be putting my stack single crochet in will be this pinky orangey coloured one here. So what I'm going to do is insert my hook through the pink stitch and also the orange one behind it. So each stitch will have two legs that you want to put it through. So I don't want that purple one, that pink and orange one there. And then what we're going to do now is a full single crochet. So yarning over twice to make that single crochet. And then we're going to do a normal stack single crochet here. So you want to go not into that bottom double crochet stitch there. You want to, or this purple one, you want to go into that leftmost leg of that single crochet that we just made. So we'll be going into that stitch there, yarning over, pulling through that, yarning over, pulling through that. So that is now my stacked single crochet. So I'm going to do the same as all the other rounds. Just get my stitch marker and just mark that top stitch so we know where we're joining it later on. Like so. So now we're going to be continuing the pattern throughout the remainder of these second row stitches in exactly the same way as we did before. So these stitches only have the corner ones, so it'll be double crochet in 3, chain in 2, double crochet in 3. This one doesn't have, this one's a hole, so we skip over this one and then we start them again here. 3 clusters, double crochet 3, chain 2, double crochet 3. However, instead of going into each hole as we were in the first rounds, we're going to be going into each of the legs of the double crochet stitches to do our double crochet. So we've got our stack single here, we're going to be yarning over, and then for this one, then my next stitch is this purple one here. So I'll be going under this purple one, like that, and then just doing a normal double crochet here. Pulling through 2, yarning over, pulling through 2. Then my final one of this is this yellow and pink one here. Again, yarning over, inserting my hook into that yellow pink one, pulling through, yarning over, pulling through 2, yarning over, pulling through 2. So now we've got our first cluster of the round bonneau, which is attached to our square, or hexagon actually. So the next stitches will be chain 2. They don't connect to anything, they'll just be loose. And then the next stitch we'll be going into here is this pink purple one. Down at the bottom here. So oops, again same as always, we'd yarn over, go into this stitch right here, this one, yarning over, pull through 2, yarning over, pull through 2, and the next one will be this orange purple combo at the bottom. So yarning over, going through this yellow purple combo like so, yarning over, so we've got 3 loops, yarning over, yarning over, and then what we're going to do throughout the entirety of that, so that will be my next double crochet, and then we'll go on to these clusters, and then we'll go all the way around to where we first started. So I'll meet you back here in a moment. So once you've done all of your clusters, you're back at your stitch marker where we mark that stack single crochet. We're going to go ahead and take that back off again. Whoops. And then we're just going to slip stitch back into that top of that single, stack single, as we have been doing all the way through this project. To close it off. So we've just got one more row now to do. It's going to be joined exactly the same way as we did the round before. However, this time what we're going to be doing is, again, keeping the front facing you, going to be slip stitching down exactly as we did before, and we're aiming for the, so if you're in this cluster, in my example I'm here, you want to be going to the next cluster below it to the left. So we slip stitching down this one into this stitch, this yellow one here. So we're going all the way down here. So now we're in place, we just want to go ahead into that first bottom stitch as we have been doing. This may be quite tight because they're your original ones, so you may need to give it a little bit of persuasion like I'm having to for this one. There we go. And then this will be your stacked single crochet. If any point in this that you're struggling with a stacked single, just go ahead and chain 3 instead and skip over the stacked single crochet. If you don't want to be doing those, that's absolutely fine as well. So we'll just pull up a loop there, single crochet it, and then again, as we have been doing, I want to go into this bar, left hand bar, diagonal bar, to make a stack single if you're using them. Go into that stitch, yarn over, there we go. So that's our stacked single. So again, I'll be putting my stitch marker in that pink top stitch there, so we can remember to slip stitch into that one later on. So this part of the pattern gets a little bit fiddly, but effectively what we're doing is exactly the same as what we did in this row. So we'll be going double crocheting into every bottom stitch. There is no they're all corner spaces this time, so we'll literally just be double crocheting against this one, chaining 2, and then just going straight into your double crochets all the way around, just making sure that you're attaching it to the bottoms of each of these stitches as you go around. So I'll show you a couple and then we'll meet back at the start in a moment. So for my next one, it'll be this purple one. So I'll just put my hook. Again, this could be quite tight to get your hook into. This yarn's splitting quite badly as well, actually. There we go. I forgot to yarn over. Now go back into those ones that I just pulled up. There we go. Yarn over. Pull through 2, pull through 2. And then the last one in this cluster is this orange one. So again, I'll be yarning over, going into these loops at the bottom. My camera will focus, there we go, into these loops in the bottom. Yarning over, pulling through 2. Yarning over, pulling through 2. So that's my first cluster done. So then it's a chain 2. One, 2, and then for my next stitch it'll be this pink one to start off with, then this purple one, then this orange one here in these insides. So I'm going to go all the way around and I'll meet you back at this starting point in a moment. So I'll see back here, I've just done my final chain 2 and we'll just slip stitch back into that cluster that we first, the stack single crochet that we first started. Again, just put in my hook through there and then just slip stitch in to close. And then as this is now your final stitch, what you're going to be doing, or this is how I fasten off, just do one more chain, pull off a little bit of a yarn tail and cut your yarn. And then you'll pull this all the way through. Tug on that to tighten it. And then all we've got to do is weave in this end that we've just cut, so I put it through. So you now need your needle to weave in the end. This hole will close up, so don't worry about that. Thread in my needle there, and then what I do to sew this first end in is just go into the next stitch like so, and then the inside petal bit I feed this down these stitches here to the bottom, pulling it tight so it's nice and neat. And then I'm going to poke this through one of the bottom rings down here. And then all I'm going to do with this yarn tail now is just weave this in and out of these circular ones around the edge here. And then I will do the same with this tail, our original starting tail, in a moment as well. Just weave those through a few times. Whoops, not that far. Weave those in a few times. Each time we do a weave through, this center ring will get tighter, especially when we start doing this one. So this will close completely. Do a few rounds of this stitch. Again, pulling it tight each round, so it's getting closer, tighter and tighter as we go through. Let's do a couple more for good luck, as it were. And then we'll cut that one off. And then we'll do exactly the same with our original starting tail. So again, threading that onto our needle. And for this one, you now want to pull this really as tight as you can, so you know it's closed completely up. And then we'll just again weave this in these circles of this circular ring at the back, pulling it tight each pass through that we do. This will get harder and harder to weave in as it gets tighter. See, now it's almost completely closed up. That's what we want. And you can continue just weaving this until your entire tail's gone, or you can just tie it in a little knot as well, just to keep it secure. I'm going to just tie a little knot in this personally. I just do two. This will be the back of what it's attached to anyway, just to make sure that that doesn't come loose. Cut our final tail off, close to the knot as possible, and whip it back around to the front. There's your completed flower. You can give it a little bit of a squish up. You can attach these to anything that you want. You can just attach another yarn tail to the end, hair clips, hair bands, anything could work, but I think they're really cute. I've also done a plain version, so you can do it with just a plain yarn or multicoloured yarn, whatever you fancy doing, work out great. I haven't tried them with multiple rounds, so do let me know if you've done one with different colours. That'd probably work really well as well. Thank you so much for watching. Do let me know in the comments if you've made one of these, if you've done different colour schemes. Let me know how they turn out with different colours if you do different coloured rounds as well. Be really interesting to know your creations. But until next time, bye.